The sky was a bruised, sick shade of purple. The wind whipped my hair across my face, but the loudest sound was the ratchet wrench in my father's hand. Jaden was sweating as he unbolted the heavy standby generator from the concrete pad. He wasn't securing our home. He was looting it. He heaved the machine into the back of his truck, right next to my brother Lucian's gaming rig. I stood on the porch with my single backpack, waiting for him to unlock the back seat. Then my mother, Sharon, rolled down the window. She looked at me, her eyes flat and unbothered. "There is no room, honey," she said, raising her voice over the wind. "You need to stay. Someone has to bail the water if the basement floods. Do not let the damp ruin Grandma's oak floors. You have got 9 lives. A Category 4 storm won't kill you." My father slammed the tailgate. "Don't get any ideas about leaving," he shouted. I took the spark plugs out of the old sedan. They drove off, taillights fading into the rain. I stood alone in a house that was about to become a coffin, realizing my life was worth less to them than hardwood floorboards. I didn't cry. I went inside and locked the door. Have you ever realized your family valued their furniture more than your life? Drop a comment and tell me where you are watching from. I want to know who else survived the people who were supposed to protect them. That storm didn't kill me. It educated me. I spent 19 hours in the dark, listening to the wind tear the siding off the house, realizing that the people who were supposed to protect me had left me behind to save a generator. When they came back the next day, they didn't apologize. My mother just checked the floors for water damage and told me I was being dramatic. That was 12 years ago. I am 29 now, and I don't rely on anyone for safety anymore. I work as a risk assessor for a major insurance firm. My entire career is built on one skill: looking at a smiling face and knowing exactly what lie is hiding behind the teeth. I am good at it because I learned from the best. See, my grandmother saw everything. She knew what Jaden and Sharon were. When she passed away 3 years ago, she dropped a bomb that should have ended their free ride. She left the house, the prime coastal property they had been living in rent-free for decades, entirely to me. It should have been my exit ticket. But my parents are masters of manipulation. They cried. They guilt-tripped. "This is our home," my father said, tears in his eyes. "You wouldn't throw your aging parents onto the street, would you?" So, against my better judgment, I became their landlord. For the last 3 years, I have been subsidizing their delusions of grandeur. I charge them a fraction of the market rent, and they still treat me like an inconvenience. I drive a 10-year-old sedan and brown bag my lunch to save every penny. Meanwhile, my brother Lucian pulls up to the driveway in a leased BMW he cannot afford, posting photos of bottle service in Miami on credit cards I know are maxed out. The dynamic is suffocating. I am the owner of the house, yet when I visit, I am treated like a servant. "Don't track mud in," my mother snaps, while Lucian leaves his takeout containers rotting on the coffee table. But the breaking point wasn't the disrespect. It was the math. Last month, Jaden called me in a panic. He said the roof had developed a catastrophic leak, and he needed $5,000 immediately for repairs. He sent me a blurry photo of a water stain on the ceiling. I transferred the money within the hour because I care about the asset. 2 days later, I stopped by to check on the repairs. There was no contractor truck in the driveway. The roof looked exactly the same, but standing in the hallway, gleaming in the sunlight, was a brand new set of Callaway golf clubs. The price tag was still on the bag. I stood there, staring at those clubs. They weren't just golf clubs, they were my $5,000. They were my overtime hours. They were my savings. My father walked in, saw me looking, and didn't even flinch. "Oh, those?" "A gift from a client," he lied. He didn't have clients. He has been semi-retired for a decade. That was the moment the daughter died, and the risk assessor took over. I realized I wasn't financing their retirement. I was financing their entitlement. They didn't see me as family. They saw me as an ATM with a pulse. And just like any high-risk asset that becomes a liability, it was time to liquidate. I didn't scream. I didn't demand the money back. I smiled, complimented his new clubs, and walked out to my car. I sat in the driver's seat and looked at the house one last time. They thought they had me wrapped around their finger. They didn't know I was about to close the account for good. The shift didn't happen overnight. It happened when the Charleston real estate market exploded. Suddenly, the dirt under my grandmother's house wasn't just a yard. It was a winning lottery ticket. Zillow estimated the property value at $650,000. My parents saw that number, and the mask slipped completely. First, the rent check stopped. When I texted Jaden to ask about the $1,800 due for October, he didn't make an excuse. He sent a link to a legal article about squatters' rights in South Carolina. It was a threat. He was betting that I didn't have the stomach to drag my own parents into court for an eviction. He was betting that my shame was stronger than my spine. He was almost right. I was ready to just walk away, to let them rot in the house until the taxes piled up. But then they got greedy. They didn't just want to live there for free. They wanted the equity. 2 weeks ago, the tone changed. No more threats. No more silence. I got a text from Sharon asking me to come for dinner. She said she was making pot roast, that my father wasn't doing well, and that we needed to make peace. I went. Not as a daughter hoping for reconciliation, but as an assessor inspecting a claim. The house smelled like roast beef and deception. Jaden was sitting in his recliner, but the golf clubs were hidden. He looked pale, likely by design. He kept rubbing his left arm, performing a theatrical grimace every time he moved. The doctor says it is congestive heart failure, Sharon whispered, clutching a handkerchief. The stress of this rental agreement is killing him, Lily. Jaden looked at me with wet, pleading eyes. I just want to die in my own home, kiddo, he said. I want to leave something for the family. We scraped together everything we have. $50,000. It is all we have got. Sell us the house for that, we take over the old mortgage, and we keep the legacy alive. I sat there, cutting my meat, running the numbers in my head. The old mortgage had a balance of maybe $40,000. They were offering me $90,000 total for a property worth $650,000. They weren't asking for a favor. They were attempting a $500,000 heist. I looked at Sharon, who was too busy watching my reaction to actually look sad. I looked at Jaden, whose failing heart had been strong enough to swing a driver 18 holes a day last week. That was the moment the last thread snapped. I realized they didn't see me as a person. They saw me as an obstacle to their wealth. They were banking on the fact that I was still that 17-year-old girl, terrified of the storm, desperate for their approval. They thought if they pressed the guilt button hard enough, I would sign over my future. I put down my fork. I didn't scream. I didn't call them liars. I let the risk assessor take the wheel. I am tired, Dad, I said, letting my shoulders slump. I am tired of fighting you for rent. I don't want the stress either. Jaden sat up straighter. The pain in his arm vanished instantly. So you will do it? I will sell it to you for $50,000, I lied. But I have conditions. I want out completely. We have to close fast. 7 days. No long escrows. I want to sign the papers next Saturday and be done with it. Sharon actually clapped her hands. Jaden grinned, a predatory, shark-like smile that chilled my blood. That is my girl, he said. Smart choice. They thought they had broken me. They thought they had won the jackpot. They didn't know that by agreeing to a 7-day close, I was setting a timeline that wouldn't give them a single second to spot the trap I was about to build. The next morning, I didn't go to the office. I sat at my kitchen table with a pot of black coffee and my laptop. In my line of work, we have a saying. Criminals aren't caught because they are unlucky. They are caught because they are loud. I didn't need to hack the NSA or tap their phones. I didn't need high-tech spy gear. I just needed to leverage their own vanity and laziness against them. I started with my brother, Lucian. Lucian had blocked me on every social media platform 3 years ago when I refused to co-sign a loan for his crypto mining startup, which turned out to be a pyramid scheme. He thought that made him invisible to me. But Lucian has a weakness. He is desperate to be famous. 2 weeks prior, I had created a burner Instagram account. I filled it with stock photos of high-end gaming setups and biohacked energy drinks. I named it Nexus Talent Scout. I followed 50 random micro-influencers, then I sent a request to Lucian. He accepted in 4 minutes. I scrolled past his desperate selfies and reposted memes until I found exactly what I was looking for. A post from 3 weeks ago. The caption read, Demo Day. Tearing down the walls to build the ultimate command center. The photo was high resolution. It showed Lucian standing in the guest bedroom. My guest bedroom. Holding a sledgehammer. Behind him was a pile of drywall and 2x4 studs. I zoomed in. He hadn't just removed drywall. He had sawed through a vertical wooden beam. A load-bearing stud. He had compromised the structural integrity of the southeast corner of the house to make room for his monitors. I took a screenshot. That was Exhibit A. Property damage. Next, I moved to Aunt Brenda. Brenda is my mother's sister, a woman who has lived in Ohio for the last decade. But when I was at the house for the pot roast dinner, I noticed a distinct smell in the hallway. Menthol cigarettes and cat litter. My parents don't smoke, and they hate cats. I didn't need to break in to prove she was there. I just went to Amazon. Most people don't realize their wish lists are public by default unless they change the settings. Brenda isn't tech savvy. I searched her name. There it was. Brenda's needs. I clicked on the purchase tab. It was a goldmine of logistics. A bulk order of diabetic test strips. A new CPAP hose. 12 cases of Diet Mountain Dew. And right there, next to the Buy Again button, was the delivery confirmation. Delivered yesterday to my address. She wasn't visiting. She was receiving medical supplies there. She was a tenant. An unauthorized, illegal tenant living in a property I owned, violating the lease terms my parents had signed. That was Exhibit B. Breach of contract. I saved everything to a secure cloud drive. Then I called my lawyer, Mr. Vance. I need you to draft a document, I told him. I need an affidavit of occupancy and condition. Standard closing doc? He asked. No, I said. Make it specific. I want a clause where the sellers swear, under penalty of perjury and insurance fraud, that the property has suffered no structural alterations and houses no unauthorized residents. Make the language explicit. Make it terrifying. There is a psychological concept called the Dunning-Kruger effect. It is when incompetent people are too incompetent to realize they are incompetent. Jaden thinks he is a shark. He thinks contracts are just formalities for suckers. He thinks because I am his daughter, I won't read the fine print, and more importantly, he thinks he doesn't have to read it either. He sees the $50,000 price tag and thinks he is winning. He doesn't see the trap. He doesn't realize that by signing this affidavit, he isn't just lying to his daughter. He is lying to the state authorities on a notarized instrument. I printed the document. The paper was warm in my hands. It wasn't just a contract. It was a hunting trap. And I was about to place it right in front of a starving wolf. Saturday arrived with a bright, mocking sunshine that felt entirely inappropriate for an execution. I pulled into the driveway at exactly 2 o'clock. The lawn was freshly mowed. The shutters were open. To anyone driving past, it looked like a happy family gathering. I wasn't alone. In the passenger seat sat Mr. Vance, my attorney. He was a man who wore three-piece suits in the South Carolina heat and had eyes like a predatory bird. He didn't say a word as he unbuckled his seatbelt and checked his briefcase. He knew exactly what was inside. We walked up the steps. The same steps where my mother had once told me to stay behind and bail water. Today, the door swung open before I could even knock. Lily! You are right on time. Sharon stood there, wiping flour off her hands onto a floral apron. The house smelled aggressively like warm apples and cinnamon. She had baked a pie. It was a performance of domestic bliss so thick it made my teeth ache. Come in, come in. Leave your shoes by the door, we just had the carpets cleaned. I stepped inside. The air conditioning was blasting. In the center of the dining table, sitting in a plastic bucket of melting ice, was a bottle of Andre champagne. They weren't just buying a house. They were celebrating a conquest. Jaden walked in from the kitchen, holding a stack of paper plates. He looked miraculous for a man supposedly dying of heart failure. His color was high. His step was bouncy. And that pain in his arm was completely gone. There she is, he announced, beaming. The prodigal daughter returns. I knew you would come to your senses, kiddo. Family always finds a way. He reached out to hug me. I sidestepped him smoothly, gesturing to my lawyer. This is Mr. Vance. He is handling the paperwork. Jaden's smile faltered for a fraction of a second, then widened. Lawyers. Always so formal. Well, grab a seat. We are all family here. Mr. Vance didn't smile. He walked to the head of the table, placed his briefcase down, and snapped the latches open. The sound was like a gunshot in the cozy room. Then I saw Lucian. He was in the living room, standing on a chair with a metal tape measure. He didn't even look at me. He was measuring the bay window. Lucian shouted that he was installing blackout curtains for a gaming lounge measuring a house he didn't own, on floors he had damaged with money my parents didn't really have. They thought I was beaten. Sharon pushed pie toward us. But Jaden's lawyer, Mr. Vance, cut her off. We were here to sign. Jaden slapped a certified $50,000 check on the table. Their entire savings burned to trap me. I stared at it. At my mother's eager smile. At Lucian snapping his tape measure shut. I just want this over, I whispered. Jaden slid me a pen. Instead of signing, I watched Mr. Vance pull out one final document, an affidavit certifying there were no structural changes and no unauthorized residents. Signing it would skip inspection fees and save $3,000. Agreed one instantly. Jaden signed. Sharon followed. The notary stamped it. Then I capped my pen. We aren't closing today. They froze. I explained that they had just sworn under penalty of perjury, that nothing had been altered. Mr. Vance placed a tablet on the table. The screen showed Lucian posing with a sledgehammer beside a destroyed support wall. Dated 3 weeks earlier. That's load-bearing, I said. Another swipe revealed delivery records addressed to Brenda, proof my aunt had been secretly living upstairs. Jaden exploded, but Mr. Vance cut him off. The affidavit they'd signed wasn't just lying, it was felony fraud. Silence crushed the room. You trapped yourselves, I said. You wanted to save $3,000. Now you're facing prison. Brenda crept toward the door, but I stopped her. She owed $64,000 in back rent and utilities. She immediately blamed Jaden. Perfect. I slid a new document across the table, a voluntary surrender. Leave now. Keys, furniture, everything. Or we go to the district attorney. Jaden searched my face for the girl he used to control. She was gone. Shaking, he signed. Sharon sobbed as she followed. He dropped the keys into my hand. By 6 p.m., they were gone. I watched them pack Sharon shattering porcelain into her trunk, Lucian cradling his gaming rig, Brenda waiting for an Uber, refusing to look at anyone. Jaden drove away without a word. 2 weeks later, I sold the land to developers. The neighbors who once backed my parents now live beside a 24-hour distribution center. I call that poetic. Tonight, I sit in my condo 20 floors up, checking my account $650,000. Freedom. I mailed them one final photo of my skyline view with a single line on the back. You taught me to save myself. Lesson learned. Then I blocked every number, sipped my wine, and watched the sun fall behind the city. This time, I wasn't afraid of the dark. I was the one who turned out the lights.